Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Supernatural Strength. I'm Neil Pickup, and I've got a special guest on today's show. He is the reigning and defending World Arm Wrestling League heavyweight champion of the world, Monster Michael Todd, in the Mother Fluffing House. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Mate, always a pleasure. And I've got you up early. It's like, what is it, like 8 o'clock over there?
Yeah, it's a little bit after 8.
Now, tell me for real, did you have to comb the beard, or is that like wake-up face?
No, this is definitely a comb beard.
You
thing
knew
is wild, bro.
Hey, you got to keep the moneymaker preen, dude.
There you go.
And we'll start there because nobody will know this. You've not been out sort of talking about it, but your sort of career outside of arm wrestling has been doing pretty good, mate. You've been taking off and getting a few roles. You did SWAT.
Yeah, okay, so I did SWAT last year, which was a blessing. I just happened to be on the set with Kenny Johnson, who is an amateur world champion, He won Buena Park, and he's a fan, so he got me on the set and was introducing me to everybody, and then the directors and producers and stuff mistook me for someone that had casted, and they ended up firing that guy, hiring me, paid a penalty because I wasn't SAG, and then so now I'm SAG eligible for acting and stunts. So I've done a couple auditions, and recently I had done one which was pretty cool to me because it was going to have a fight scene with Dolph Lundgren, right? He was gonna stick me, and I was gonna pull the blade out of my arm. It was gonna be pretty cool, man. So I was excited about that. But then they emailed me and told me that my character had gotten cut.
Okay.
But I'd be willing to come down and do an in-person casting. Long story short, I went down there. To my surprise, Dolph Lundgren was the one doing the casting. So we just had a really good interaction. We talked a lot, and I didn't even have to read it. Like, yeah, man, dude, you look great. We'll find something for you. So, yeah, I'm definitely blessed right now. I'm excited about it. These are childhood dreams of mine. To be. I was a martial artist as a kid, so I always thought I was going to be this acting movie star, and to get to meet some of these people. I mean, growing up at our age, Neil. I mean, obviously Dolph Lundgren. Ivan Drago was the epitome of the bad guy, and also aesthetically probably one of the best built guys in movies. So for him to tell me I look great, I was like, that's a compliment.
Yeah, I don't think many people have ever looked better than either Stallone or Dolph Lundgren in that film. I mean, my God, he was in shape.
Both pretty well put together for that movie for sure. But yeah,
so, I'm proud of you, mate. It sounds like it's been taking off for you a little bit. But let's bring it a little closer to home. Obviously, 600 series about to go off, and we've already had matches confirmed there. We've got Sheldon and Wilmot in there already. I'm going to go straight to the ladies match next because Marlon Kleinsmith and Irina Galadkaya. That's a match, mate.
That's going to be an exciting match, man. That may be the showstopper right there,
It's funny, isn't it? People talk about, big name matches, main event matches. That is not the main event on the 601 card, but there is no doubt it's main event worthy anywhere in the world. Two best points in the world.
Absolutely. But the thing is, there's still a lot of Americans who just don't know who Irina is, and that she's a legend, dude. She's awesome. I'm pretty sure she's probably got a winning record against Marlon too. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a very exciting match. But it's just two professional athletes, doing what they do best. So it's going to be exciting.
Now let's try and focus on real time right now. We're obviously Friday. Yesterday, announcement went out for another match on that card. Eddie Hall, former world's strongest man, all-time deadlift record holder, all-time axle press record holder. And to be perfectly honest, it's fair to say that he's in the argument for the strongest human being ever to draw breath. And he's coming over. He's transitioned into arm wrestling, and he's going to take a pop at a middleweight, and not just any old middleweight, the middleweight hammer holder in Rob Vigent Jr. I wanted to just get your thoughts on that, mate. How do you sort of, what's your opinions of the transition of a man coming over to another sport, of a strong man coming into arm wrestling and chancing his arm?
Okay, so I'm going to start off with saying there's zero negativity about it at all. It can only be good things for our sport, right? And to touch on that, I've never seen someone's social media presence grow as rapidly as his. In the last month, I've seen his YouTube subscribers go from like 560,000 to nearly 840,000. Mm-hmm. That's a 50% growth in less than a month. It's just staggering. So bringing someone with that type of following and pedigree into the sport win or lose is nothing but good for our sport, right? So, he posted his video yesterday, I think, and I think I saw on Instagram, maybe wrong, but I think it was 100 and something thousand views yesterday.
Wow.
His Instagram video about him pulling rock. So that's huge, man. That's going to just bring more eyes, and just imagine the more pay-per-view buys that'll be on that car alone, just because they want to see Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think he's going to win? No. Do I think he has phenomenal potential to progress in the sport? Absolutely, as well as Brian Shaw or Hafthor or Vitalis Latis. Obviously he's an arm wrestler anyway. Any of these guys that have that type of strength, it's not going to happen overnight, but if they could transition, they get the right coach, right team, train with it. It's going to take a couple of years, but they could definitely be a threat to that super heavyweight title for sure.
Well, one of the points that was covered up in there, and you see in the chats go mad on all of these things, on the YouTube channel, on the Insta, on all social media, people sort of to and fro-ing, depending on their sort of leanings in strength sport, of how that match would go, and whether Eddie represents a genuine threat to a professional arm wrestler, considering the fact that he's pulling a middleweight. And Eddie was really open and came out and said, "Look, I don't want to take on a heavyweight." He's seen Torbjornsson getting handily beaten or handled by Devin Lara, who's obviously a man you're very familiar with. Now,
who's that guy? What'd you say?
Oh, some Canadian. What's his name? Tall guy.
Okay.
Is.
I think I've heard something about somebody.
Yeah, may know him, but he's seen that video. He's very familiar with that, and Eddie's always been extremely respectful of the sport of arm wrestling. But do you see any crossover there in terms of is there a situation where a super strong athlete can come from another sport straight into arm wrestling and make any kind of waves at an elite level?
Okay, so you and I have had this conversation for about a decade, and you believe that there are people exist that could come in right now with no arm wrestling experience, just crazy raw power, leverage, genetics that could be serious threats now. So I assume those people do exist, right? But the general consensus is, regardless of how strong you are, it will take you a couple years to get your tendons conditioned to what we do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, my grip's nowhere near as good as Brian Shaw's. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure their hand strength is insane. But translating that to the table is just two different things. For one, like someone like Brian Shaw is just so massive. How comfortable is he going to be setting up on the table? So there's a lot of variables. But yeah, Eddie Hall is a very I saw the video. You were training with him. I mean, mm-hmm. what the chances are. I mean, but so yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if he was to do it, and I'm not sure if I was him, I would do it, right? I mean, he's just a competitive individual, right? I mean, the guy's doing great things with everything else he's doing. So why the hell would you mess with arm wrestling? But the fact that he shows an interest and he's willing to jump in there, I can't be nothing but sing his praises. That's pretty awesome for me.
Now, obviously, one more match to be announced on 601. Is that something that you would like to be involved with, mate? Have you got your eyes set on the prize there and on defending the hammer that you got sat right there in that house?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to all challengers, man. Whatever the W.A.L deems best right now, I'm good. I'm strong. I'm training. I was blessed this year with a benefactor who got me stem cell treatments. So mm-hmm. I'm essentially coming off a 4-week rehab where I did 2 weeks of 50% of my maintenance workouts. 2 weeks of 75%. This week was my first week of doing just 100% my maintenance weight. So, over this weekend, I've got to get the whiteboard out and I got to draw out my progression, to where I can peak. But yeah, man, I'm up for it for sure.
Now, when you're in the off season, Mike, do you change your training significantly? Obviously, we've seen you do this maintenance work in the off season, but do you train your general body differently than you would when you're coming up to a match?
Okay, so what I do in the offseason, a lot of this is due to Corey, the gorilla. He and I trained together now for about a year, and it's been helped out a lot for both of us. Just for me to have someone who's there every week, wanting to push harder than we had the previous week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so normally the offseason, I just do maintenance workouts. I just go through the motions. Once I start peaking, I do blood flow restriction. I do all that stuff. But I normally just do maintenance workouts in the off season. And, my workouts are about 10 or 12 minutes a day. They're the really intense 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's like a sort of like CrossFit length in some respect. In the shorter, you know, when you go for that.
Yeah.
Really
I mean, one of the biggest things I've done. I've trained this way for a long time. One of the biggest things I've done in the last couple of years is I've incorporated wrist rolls, cable pulls, and battle ropes in every workout. So if I'm doing 5 sets of 30 on whatever body part, I'm doing 5 sets of reverse wrist rolls, forward wrist rolls, cable pulls, battle ropes. So my hands and wrists and forearms are getting trashed every workout. And it's always something that relates to arm wrestling. But yeah, what we did this off season was because we had peaked at such a high level last season, where we were actually maxing out the stacks on all my machines, which we'd never done before with like crush and different handles. Each workout, each week when we do a maintenance workout, we would do the maintenance weight, but we'd pick one exercise and we would do that max weight for 30 reps. It got us used to that heavy weight, right? You know, it wasn't we came back to the maintenance weight and we had to peak again and not beat, but our body stayed used to the whole stack on the country crush for 30 reps or whatever. And by doing so, I was able to set PRs this off season that I had never even set in season. Like the top curl, which I think is a phenomenal curl bar where you work your riser, right?
Yeah, sure.
Love that thing.
And with quite a thick handle on that as well. You got it on the top curl. You got quite a thick handle, haven't you, on there?
Mine is the first version, generation 1.
Okay.
So it's got like a 1-inch handle. But I just engage. I just kick my riser up and I just start curling. And if the riser dumps, I quit, right? Because I don't keep pulling once my riser dumps. But in season last year, my best was the whole stack 200 pounds for 30 reps, right? This last off season, one day I was like, no, instead of doing 5 sets of 30, let's just do 3 sets of 50. Long story short, I ended up doing that max weight because that was the thing we picked was top curl for 50 reps. And I was like, holy crap, you know, so, and I was doing low carbs and weighing around 250, you know, so I was pretty pleased. I mean, I've had a very good off season. I haven't got to test out the heavy weights now because I'm coming off the rehab from the stem cells. But I'm very optimistic, man. I think this is going to be the best version we've ever seen of me, so I'm excited.
Now let's try and dispel a few myths. There's been rumors flying around that your weight has changed significantly right now, and that you're very light. Okay. I want to sort of you don't look heavy, but you also don't look overly light. What are you right now, mate?
Okay, so last season the lightest I got down to was around 248 stripped in the mornings.
Okay,
right, and so I mean I could 248 stripped in the mornings. I think that so after the season was over, I think I pulled in. I think I was probably 258 when I left to go pull Jerry last year. That morning when I drove down there. So by the time I got down there, I was heavier, weighed in, dressed, everything. I think I was 258 when I left the house. After that, I switched over to a low carb meal plan and I started doing exogenous ketones. And I really liked how that made me feel. And I got down to 245.6, I think, was the lightest I was. Well, then I kind of switched over that, made it to the holidays, had a good, you know, I think I might have been close to 260 first of the year, January, whatever. So 3 weeks ago, I think it was the morning of February 14th, I think I was 248.2, right? Well, I cheated Friday for Valentine's Day. I cheated Saturday. And now I'm on, I guess, maybe the 20 days of perfect nutrition. But I'm eating a lot of food, right? 5,000 calories a day probably. And probably will go up to 6,000 or 7,000. But I weighed in this morning at 260.2 stripped.
Wow.
So I'm up about 12 pounds from where I was 3 weeks ago. And it's not muscle mass, but it's muscle fullness, right? So I look fuller. I look more muscular because everything looks fuller. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm either going to be super, super, super shredded at 260 because I'm not cheating until after my title defense. So whenever that may be, I won't have a cheat meal until after that. I'm going to have perfect nutrition. I'm going to have perfect training, and then I'll have a perfect outcome when it's time to defend the title.
How important is the weight for you, mate? Do you even in your training on the build-up, do you feel like I am heavier, I am stronger, and you really notice that?
Okay, so throughout my career, I have tried the bigger, stronger version, and a lot of times to get that size, I just had to eat like crap. Well, then I looked like crap and I felt like crap, right?
Yeah.
A lot of mine is mental. So if I like how I look and how I feel and I feel strong, then I'm strong. So even when I pulled push car at 308, that was in 2017, I actually hit PRs last year greater than everything I did leading up to that at a much lighter body weight.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not the strongest bench presser or deadlifter or squatter I've ever been, but I'm the strongest arm wrestler I've ever been.
Yeah.
So either I'm going to end up being 270 stripped, just looking jacked, or I'm going to be 260 stripped and just be ripped to shit. So, either way, I'm going to be the strongest me ever. So I don't know what my body's going to do. What I'm saying is eating clean, my metabolism may go to where it just flips and it just starts burning everything and I just get crazy ripped.
Yep.
Or I'll maintain a similar composition, but I'll be able to pack on that muscle fullness, So I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. My cardio is still great. I'm still doing like my morning cardio circuit. I'll do forward wrist rolls with the 2-inch pipe, reverse wrist rolls with 2-inch pipe, 10 jumping jacks, 30 seconds of battle ropes, and I'll do 15 rounds. And I've been doing those with BFRs on. So that's about a 17-minute circuit where you're doing 7.5 minutes of battle ropes, 15 forward wrist rolls, 15 reverse wrist rolls, 150 jump jacks, whatever. But doing that by itself blows your hands, wrists, and forearms up where you can barely grip the ropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you put BFRs on to do that, it's very challenging.
And you're doing that every morning. You love to work out in that morning.
Yeah, that's my morning cardio circuit, which has changed from what it used to be 30 minutes of some form of cardio, bounce around, whatever.
Yep.
And now it's just specifically wrist rolls, battle ropes, and jumping jacks to keep so my heart rate's up. But what it is I'm performing exercises that relate to arm wrestling while I'm pumped. While I'm experiencing a crazy pump, I'm still able to have clamp my hand and grab those ropes and do the wrist rolls. So what that means is when I'm in a match, if my hand gets pumped, I'm used to it because I live it every day.
Another day in the office.
Right. Yeah. So
where I was going with the weight thing was because the last couple of times we've seen Devin Lara come into an arm wrestling match, and everybody thinks that's the direction you're heading in, or he's a very good chance of being your first opponent. He's coming big. I think with Chafee, he was like 277 there or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. Does that concern you, or do you not really see that as a factor?
I don't really see it as a factor. And also everybody's like, because Devin has a lot of followers and fans on social media. So, I catch a ton of shit, right?
Everybody loves you, Mike.
Devin's going to be 300 pounds. Devin's going to be this. And I'm like, great. But then Devin posted a video the other day of him standing there with no shoes on, some cargo pants, and he's 259 and change, Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Let's say it was Devin. There's two options, in my opinion. For him to be massive and try to outpower me.
Yep.
That's option one. Second option is he leads me to believe that he's going to come in massive, and he comes in leaner and tries to outlast me.
Yeah.
Because last time he got gassed out. But I saw that too. I saw that in the matches leading up to me. I saw him pulling Matt Mask and being winded. I saw him pulling Jerry Caderet and being winded. And this is what I've always said. You have to maintain a certain mass for a while before that cardio kicks back in to maintain that mass, right? And he just got bigger and stronger, but he didn't focus on his cardiovascular capacity as much, in my opinion. And I think that's the reason, when it came down to it, like you said, I listen to your commentary all the time, during my training. I go out there and play, 406, and it's, round 3, he's up 2-1, but he's gassed out late on the table, and I'm smiling at him,
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. If Devin is the guy that I'm going to be facing, I can't really, and this is just me in a nutshell, I can't concern myself with what Devin's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to make sure that what I'm doing is the best version of me. And that's the only thing I can control. I can't control how big Devin is. I can't control how prepared Devin is. All I can control is how I am and how prepared I am. And I'm going to be the most prepared.
Well, it's interesting here, isn't it? Because effectively, this is the rubber match. You won one. If you look at the back history of you lads, and within the World Arm Wrestling League, however, so most of North America, I'm going to say, only knows the result where you win that match. So, do you feel like there's a lot more pressure on Devin this time around? Because if he was to lose to you twice back to back, where's he going to go? It's difficult in some respects. Do you think that's reality, or do you think this is a guy who's always going to be looking over his shoulder?
Okay, so in my opinion, and this could be self-induced, but I think the pressure's all on me. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to make excuses for why I won, make excuses for why I'm the champion, right? I feel like when I do face Devin again, I have to win for the validity of me as the champ. kind of goes away, right? Although I've held this hammer 3 years, I won the seeded tournament when I wasn't seeded, when I wasn't supposed to win. When you ask everybody, I just don't think Michael can win a tournament that deep, and I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And they go over to super match format, and they go ahead and have Devin as they bring him in and just assume that he's going to be the open weight champion, which he'd never held the open weight hammer, only the 225 hammer. So I came out on top there. And then you put me against Dave Chafee last season. And then, so I've proved myself time and time again that I am the best super heavyweight in the World Arm Wrestling League. But I have to do this when it's me and Devin, in my opinion, it's not the pressure's on him. And it may be, but I feel like I'm the one with the pressure, and I thrive in that position. When you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? You've known me for years. And when someone says I'm getting swept 6-0, I'm telling you, go ahead and make the bet and let them know I'm winning 6-0. That's just, I thrive as the underdog. And there are topics, and in my opinion, John Brzezinski is the greatest arm wrestler of all time. Not is he the strongest arm wrestler of all time, because I don't believe he is. I think there's people who exist and have existed in the last 5 years who top end strength and ability would beat the best version of John, but no one will ever duplicate what John did. John dominated the sport for 25 years, but he did do it when it wasn't as heavily Eastern Bloc strong as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is, he's still the greatest arm wrestler of all time, in my opinion. But now there's a lot of people who claim that Devin is the greatest of all time. So let's just argue that for a moment. Let's just say Devin is the greatest of all time. But if our history goes down, we've arm wrestled 3 times, and I've won the 2 most recent ones. I don't see how you can say he's the greatest of all time and not have me in that conversation. And I'm not saying I am the greatest arm wrestler of all time. I am telling you that I've won a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's pretty hard to contest, mate. I think that is hard to contest. Michael, I know you're short for time, mate, so I'm going to let you jump off here, but I want to say thanks for taking the time out, brother. Thanks for coming on, sharing your thoughts. We're heading to 6:01. Announcements are going to be made shortly. I personally would love it if it's another go-around for yourself and Devin on there. I got everything crossed on that one. Mate, enjoy your day, and thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.